Hello everyone, we are the Preserving Patagonia team and we are working to address the issue of invasive willows along the Lime River in Argentinian Patagonia. My name is Natalie Gonzalez and I am the project manager. Today I will be presenting with Nick Caton, our lead ecologist, and Cami Pollock, our lead remote sensing analyst. Our remaining team members are Leah LaRusso, Chris Perez, Brooke Shimasaki, and Benson Zhu. Our faculty advisor is Krishna Krishnamurthy, and we completed this project for the Niquen Center for Applied Ecology in Argentina and the Nature Conservancy. Patagonia is one of the last remaining regions of pristine wild beauty in a world threatened by human-induced climate change, habitat destruction, and biodiversity loss. Flowing just northwest of the Andes mountain range is the Lime River, which plays an essential role in the ecological and economic health of Argentina. This natural river ecosystem is being threatened by the rapidly invading European willow species, which has altered the course of the river and fundamentally changed the ecosystem. In recent decades, populations have exploded along the Lime River, thus bringing attention to the long-term economic and ecological impacts of the environmental change. Our team is committed to addressing this issue and creating a starting point that will lead to the eventual restoration of the Lime River basin.
The European willows expansion has caused a number of issues in Patagonia. Within the scope of our year-long research project, we decided to answer two main questions in regards to remote sensing and ecological restoration. First off, where are these willows located? What is the optimal methodology to determine the location of the invasive European willow along the Lime River in the Chimehuín subbasin? Second, what are the ecological impacts that have resulted from the spread of invasive European willows across the Lime River in the Chimehuín subbasin, and how do different stakeholders perceive this impact? Patagonia is a beautiful region spread across Chile and Argentina. Our study site is located in western Argentina along the Patagonian steppe, which is characterized by a uniquely dry and cold climate. Specifically, the Chimehuín subbasin rests at the foothills of the famous Andes Mountains, and it is widely regarded as a prime spot for fly fishing. Since none of our team had ever visited, we had to quickly situate ourselves within the region before further delving into our research.
The early days of our project were focused on doing a literature review of the ecology and remote sensing of willows, as well as fundraising for our trip. We received enough funds to travel from the Green Initiative Fund and from our friends, family, and other donors that contributed through Spark. Thank you. We were very excited to go on our trip. We created an initial map of willow locations and a summary of restoration strategies we thought might be impactful. In Argentina, our plan was to interview experts to refine our restoration plan, as well as to get more data on where willows occur to help refine our maps. In the end, our trip was canceled. We had to transition the later stages of our project from focusing on analyzing our ecology survey data and using field data to refine our willow maps, to looking for creative ways to send our survey remotely and refine our classifications without extra field data. These maps show our initial classification. On the right, you can see the willows in red as we classified them. We used data from our collaborators in Argentina and input it into a sophisticated machine learning algorithm with satellite imagery to identify willows. Our initial results overclassified willows, which indicated that we needed additional ground truthing data to improve our model. We were hoping to obtain this data in Argentina. These initial maps were meant to inform where we would travel within the region in Argentina to identify the places most in need of restoration, and then make a restoration plan based on what we observed.
We reviewed a massive amount of peer-reviewed literature regarding both our region and the European willows in general. From our literature review, we read a lot of contradicting views about the community's opinions of the European willows. Therefore, once we got there, we intended to conduct interviews with these stakeholders. Furthermore, we brainstormed a field data collection plan for our trip. This included an itinerary that laid out when and where we would collect raw data such as pH, soil type, river flow, etc.
The first half of our project was spent preparing for our trip to Argentina. This trip was our one chance to see our research site. However, 1 week before we were set to leave, all travel was halted due to the coronavirus. The COVID crisis interrupted one of the most important aspects of our methodology, which prevented us from being able to get a full picture of the state of willow invasion. However, this crisis challenged us to adapt and innovate as we continue to work countries away from our site. This gave us the opportunity to create a new methodology that will hopefully create a basis of how to conduct remote research on areas that are hard to reach.
As Natalie mentioned, because the trip was canceled, we really did have to innovate. We couldn't get more field data in order to correct our classification and make it more refined. To solve this problem, we increased the accuracy by using seasonal and ecological information about willows. This resulted in an annual composite of willow locations, which was our final result and has a 92% accuracy rate. In these images, you can see how the classification was refined to just willows instead of most vegetation. Willows are the brighter green area along the river in the left photo. 92% is a fairly high accuracy rate for a remote sensing project, and we are really proud of these results. I think this project is a great example of how you can do a lot of scientific work remotely through collaboration with experts and information from older research projects, even as an undergraduate.
Since we weren't able to conduct interviews in the field, we created a survey to be distributed digitally. We are currently in the process of distributing our surveys to various stakeholder groups, including government officials, researchers, fishermen and women, fishing guides, and local community members. After we conduct our analysis, we will use our survey findings and literature review to write a community-oriented restoration plan.
The ecology and remote sensing sides of this project are dependent on each other. One without the other would be unable to have the same level of quality. Ecological information allowed us to make more accurate maps of willow locations. Our maps created with that ecological information then help inform where restoration projects should be focused. In the future, these results can be further combined to allow for the creation of a more thoroughly informed ecosystem management plan. And with the addition of stakeholder inputs, the people who the plan will impact will have a say in how their land is managed.
By adapting to various challenges throughout the course of our project, we created the basis for conducting ecological research from home for the Limay River Basin. However, a field visit would be invaluable to the success of designing a restoration plan for the area. Remaining uncertainties could be resolved by seeing the true extent of environmental degradation with our own eyes. Despite this, working from home allowed us to create new ways to study remote ecosystems that are vital to preserve. We hope that others can continue our work and preserve the Limay River in Patagonia. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation and to all those that helped us along the way.